The Marlins beat the Twins 2-0, and they've won 8 straight games. It's their longest winning streak since 17 years ago.
You are Locked On Marlins, your daily podcast on the Miami Marlins.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Marlins. I'm your host, Jeremiah Geiger. I've been podcasting about the Marlins for 4 seasons. Go hit me up on X at Jeremiah Geiger 2. And thank you for making Locked On Marlins your first listen of the day. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every single day. Don't forget to hit subscribe on the YouTube channel and let me know your thoughts, as always, in the comments section. And today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. The Marlins beat the Twins 2-0. They're now 38-45. They've won 8 straight games. It's the longest winning streak since 2008. That's 17 years ago. And I'm just ecstatic. This team continues to win. They're the hottest team in baseball right now. In a season in which nobody would have expected this type of run from the Marlins, they're doing it. And on Wednesday, they can go out and win their 4th consecutive series. It's awesome. It's awesome. This team is playing such clean, consistent baseball. But on Tuesday, it all started with the pitching staff. So I'm going to get into Edward Cabrera and what made him so dominant. What has made Edward Cabrera play and pitch to his truest potential? I'm going to get into that. Going to talk about his future with the Marlins. Because right now, there's a lot of speculation that Edward Cabrera is going to get traded at the deadline. And I want to kind of play devil's advocate and just rebuttal that idea for a second. So I'm going to get into that. And also Nick Nastrini. He's a pitcher that was claimed by the Marlins off of waivers from the White Sox. He's been assigned to AAA Jacksonville. Talk a little bit about him and what to expect possibly down the road for another depth arm. 8 straight wins, though. The Marlins are on fire. And you know, we haven't really seen this type of baseball being played. The Marlins were left for dead entering this season. There was nobody really giving them the time of day and a chance to compete. And yet here they are, 3rd place now in the National League. They're half a game ahead of Atlanta, who has drastically underperformed. And you could argue that the Marlins are drastically overperforming. This is not the same old Marlins. These guys aren't the laughable, lovable losers of years prior. People around the league are going to start taking notes and noticing this team because they're competing. They're battling. They don't give in. And it's turning into wins. 8 straight, to be exact. Let's make it 9. On Wednesday, you have Simeon Woods Richardson for the Twins versus Jansen Junk. Jansen Junk struggled a little bit his last time out there against the Giants, so it's a good opportunity to bounce back. And the Twins are sputtering. They haven't scored a run in 2 straight games, going back to Sunday Night Baseball against the Tigers and Tarek Skubal, and then yesterday's game against Edward Cabrera and the Marlins. The Marlins have a prime opportunity to make it 9. This isn't a super team here. There's no reason why you can't go out and get it done. But during this win streak, Miami is slowly changing narratives. The narrative around the Marlins this entire season is that guys are going to show up. It's a roster devoid of talent. And guys are gonna get opportunities, and you're gonna try to figure out who has potential to stick around more than just a year or two. You know, in particular, like Kyle Stowers, Connor Norby, let the young guys play. There was very low expectations headed upon the pitching staff. You were going into a season which there was no Yuri to start the year. Sandy was coming back off of Tommy John surgery, and the expectation for Sandy, especially after spring training, was that you were going to be better, or he was going to be, better than he is right now. But Edward Cabrera wasn't expected to be doing what he's doing. Kyle Stowers was not expected to be doing what he's doing at the plate and playing himself into a probable all-star selection for the Marlins. Agustin Ramirez, the jury was still out on when he was going to make his major league debut, and certainly we couldn't have foreseen the impact that he's already having at the plate. He's a masher. Otto Lopez is getting better. The power from Otto Lopez is he could legitimately finish the season between 15 to 20 homers while maintaining a good average and elite defense. That's a top 10 shortstop, top 10 middle infielder in baseball. Connor Norby, yeah, he's had his struggles, but he's still a part of this team. He's still going to be a building block of this team moving forward. Dane Myers. Myers has been awesome for the Marlins. The WRC plus leaders on the active roster for Miami right now. And that's not including players who are injured or, who started the season hot and then they're not on the roster right now. You have Stowers at 138, Heriberto Hernandez at 130, Liam Hicks 123, Dane Myers 116, Agustin Ramirez 111, and Jesus Sanchez 100, Otto Lopez 99. The league average is 100. So they're having guys with offensive production pace this lineup. It's not a rollover lineup anymore. Yeah, they had their stretches when they weren't scoring runs, and even in yesterday's ball game, they squeaked it out 2-0. But Kyle Stowers hit a homer. You just got to get guys on base. And to be honest, you're facing a really, really good pitcher. That was a pitcher's duel. Joe Ryan versus Edward Cabrera. Joe Ryan's is an ace. He's one of the best pitchers in the American League. And Edward Cabrera outdueled him, which makes it that much more special. A quiet game to get the Marlins their 8th straight win. And they didn't do it in the style they had been doing it previously. You go back to the Diamondbacks and Giants series. Marlins are putting up runs after runs. They're putting up runs in bunches. This one was quiet. It was a Nick Fortes RBI. You had a Kyle Stowers solo shot, and that's it. And you hold the Twins to 2 hits combined with 7 shutout innings for Edward Cabrera, a shutout 8th from Bender, and Ronnie Enriquez takes revenge on his former team and gets the save. If you love pitching, that was your game to watch. And the Marlins are proving they can win games in different formulas. Same players, just a different way to do it every night. Yeah, I'd love to see the Marlins put up 6-7 runs again. But against Joe Ryan, yeah. If you tell me the Marlins win 2-0, I'm fine with that. I'm not going to sit there and blame the offense for only scoring 2 against an ace. What I am going to do is give credit to the pitching staff, in particular Edward Cabrera, who defies the odds and expectations each and every time now. We're past the part of doubting Edward Cabrera. We're past the part of the days saying Edward Cabrera isn't a viable option in the rotation. Now that notion is laughable. Cabrera has been the best Marlins starting pitcher this season. And yesterday he did something that nobody else for the Marlins had done up to this point. He pitched and completed 7 innings of work. I'm going to talk about more Edward Cabrera, just dive into his outing and what has just made him so good. That's coming up right after this. This episode is brought to you by Supply House. Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades, Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. If you're a trade professional, or maybe a family member or friend is a trade professional and you need help with an order, Supply House offers expert leading support and industry service. And if you are looking for that extra edge, they also offer a free Trade Master program. They have exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and the best part, discounts on every single order so you save money. Thousands of skilled professionals have already started and they're taking advantage, and now it's your turn. So join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Do me a favor and hit that subscribe button on the YouTube channel. Monday through Friday, Locked on Marlins is your place to be. Edward Cabrera, there is no way anybody could have foreseen the turnaround that Cabrera has orchestrated to save his career with the Marlins, and, the idea of him being a starting pitcher. There was a time and place in which people assumed Edward Cabrera was never going to figure it out. He was just a back of the rotation arm that the Marlins kept throwing out there. And at some point, the bullpen was the best option. I was one of those people. He had a terrible spring training. He had a terrible month of April. And at that point, I said, look, it's been 5 years. He hasn't figured it out. He never will. It's time to move on. There's no point in running Cabrera out there and going through those 90-pitch, 4-inning starts just because he has good stuff. It's obvious he didn't put it together between the ears, and he can't figure it out in order to command the strike zone and be a good starter. Boy, was I wrong. Edward Cabrera, throughout the month of May and June and now July, as we are sitting here July 2nd, yesterday, July 1st, Edward Cabrera makes his first start of the month. He's been nothing short of spectacular. And last night's game against the Twins was his best start of the season. He goes 7 shutout innings, 2 hits, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts. The Marlins win the game 2-0. He outduels Twins ace Joe Ryan in a masterclass of pitching. The number one reason for success that Cabrera had last night was command. 1 walk. You go 7 innings with 1 walk, you keep your pitch count down, you're inducing a ton of ground ball outs, which Cabrera was doing, then you're going to be just fine. All in all, Cabrera, he really relied on the sinker, the slider, and the changeup. So essentially swapping the 4-seamer for the sinker, which I think was a great decision by him and the Marlins organization and the pitching coach, Daniel Moskos. If that was the plan heading into this one, he executed it to perfection. The 4-seamer is not a good pitch. It's as straight as an arrow. It doesn't move. It has no life. The sinker is going to have some more movement, and he still throws it very hard. He'll still throw it 97, 98 miles an hour. And then you factor in the slider, the changeup, and then the X factor is the curveball. And he mixes those pitches extremely well. He diversifies his arsenal. Yesterday, 93 pitches. Changeup led the way at 27. Slider threw it 22 times. Sinker 21. Curveball 18. He threw the 4-seamer just 5 times. He goes for his best start of the season. That's not a coincidence. That's not a coincidence. The biggest piece to his arsenal that has taken such a huge step forward is the curveball, because the curveball is nasty. We've always known he has that changeup, and it's a good one. It's thrown very hard, 93, 94 miles an hour. He'll ramp it up to 95 at times. It's a devastating pitch because it looks like a fastball until it's not, and it has that late horizontal movement. The curveball, Cabrera said after the game that he feels confident in it to throw it at any point in the game, in any count. It's a true strikeout pitch, and you factor in the changeup, you factor in the slider, which he likes to throw a lot, and is still going to get whiffs. That curveball is just one more unfair weapon that you're going to get, because when the slider is on, the slider's on. It generated 6 whiffs. The changeup generated 6 whiffs, and the curveball is just unhittable. Cabrera's stuff right now, I would argue, is the best on the Marlins pitching staff in pure stuff alone. It's nuts. It's always been command. It's always been the mental aspect of pitching. What's between your ears? How are you going to handle when you're out there starting a game on the mound? I don't think this is a fluke. I think this is real, tangible results from a pitcher that has worked hard and has never given up on himself in order to put himself in the position that he is right now. You see the confidence exude from Edward Cabrera on the mound. He didn't want to get taken out of the game against the Phillies. And in this one, to end the 7th inning, he gets a strikeout. I forget who the Twins batter was, but it was a beautiful breaking ball, gets the strikeout, walks off the mound, pounds his chest. He's screaming. He's pumped up. It's emotion. It's raw, pure emotion from a pitcher that has been doubted his entire career and has now finally put it together. There's no when Cabrera is going to put it together anymore. This is him. This is what he is. He's a very, very good pitcher who's going to end up being great when he extrapolates this upon, a full season, next season. We're going to move him one day into the great category. I think part of the reason why, we were hesitant to do that with Cabrera and to really get behind him is because he's shown glimpses of this in the past, and then he's always let us down. But don't you feel that it's different? We're talking about Edward Cabrera being consistently pitching like an ace for the last 2 months. All of May, all of June. Now we're in July. I think it's going to continue. I think the success is going to be there. And the Marlins have a decision to make now. The decision that they have to make is you look at this newfound success from Edward Cabrera and you say to yourself, do we sell high? Do we take advantage of the success he's having and turn him into a trade return for prospects that can, be the next Kyle Stowers, be guys who are up here and becoming part of the next core of Marlins players? Or are we bought into the success? We believe it's tangible enough to completely push our chips in on Edward Cabrera and say, we're going to build around you. I'm going to talk about the decision that the Marlins are going to have to make right after this. Do you ever wish managing your money felt easier? With Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or you're planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. Having everything in that one app is going to make it easier to manage your money on a day-to-day basis. You don't have to, go to one banking app to see how much funds you got here, track your spending. No, it's all situated in one area, the Monarch Money app. And if you have a spouse, you have a shared account, a separate accounts, you can combine those. You can track it all on Monarch Money and set your goals with your partner and then take the stress out of it. So if you are interested in this Monarch Money, take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. A reminder that Locked On Marlins isn't just on the YouTube channel. It's wherever you get your podcasts, all the podcast platforms out there, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music. We're on all of them Monday through Friday. But if you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button for me. It really helps me out a lot. Do the Marlins trade Edward Cabrera? That's the question. That's the question I have, because when I'm watching this game last night, and I tweeted this out, I said the discussion could shift from trading him to potentially building around him. He's not a free agent until 2029. 3 full additional years of control. That's a lot of control. It makes so much sense, because when I was thinking to myself about this, I was very anti-trade Ryan Weathers. When Ryan Weathers was healthy, I saw these tweets saying, "Oh, let's trade Weathers, get what we can for him." I said, why? He's part of your future. And he very well still is. When Weathers is healthy, he's great. The only question I have with him is health. But you weren't going to trade Ryan Weathers because, prospects. You need prospects. Edward Cabrera wasn't expected to be any good this season. He wasn't expected to be reliable. And that's why the majority of Marlin fans sit back and say, well, let's sell high on him. Let's see what we can get. There's going to be a team out there that wants to work with Edward Cabrera and help him realize his full potential. Let's take advantage of that, get him off our hands, and get a boatload of prospects in return. If the breakout from Edward Cabrera is real, then he should be a Marlin. There's no rush to trade him. 3.5 years of control left. He's not an impending free agent. He's not, making a ton of money in arbitration. And that's the other part of it. Edward Cabrera could slowly start to command significant money in ARB because of his production. That's the other part of it. Well, he's going to make more money. The Marlins are going to trade him. That's just how they operate. Well, you could also change the narrative around your franchise. Keep him around. You don't have to trade him. You don't have to trade anybody with multiple years of control. Now it just stands where you are as a franchise. Where do you feel you are in your rebuild? I circled 2027 as the year in which I expect the Marlins to be competitive and to push for a playoff spot. I don't expect Miami to push for a playoff spot in 2025. I never did. I don't expect them to do so in 2026. Although they can be a fun and exciting team and a gritty, gutsy team that makes things interesting, I don't have that personal expectations for them. Now, 2027, I do. I think by 2027, if you're still 15, 20 games under 500, something's went wrong. So for a player that's not a free agent until 2029. Why are we just talking about getting rid of him? Unless the offer absolutely blows the Marlins away, you should not be searching out an Edward Cabrera trade. And what I mean by that, Jesus Luzardo was actively getting shopped. They wanted to trade him last year at the deadline. He got hurt. They end up trading him in the offseason. They trade him to the division rival Phillies for what I perceived was a very weak return for a pitcher of his caliber. And guess what? I was right. Starlin Caba for Jesus Luzardo would be laughed at right now if you flip the roles and there's another team trying to trade for Luzardo from the Phillies. You're not going to take that return. The Marlins sold low on Jesus Luzardo. If you trade anybody on this current roster, excluding Yuri Perez and Augustin Ramirez, because I do think those guys are untouchable right now, but to extrapolate on this, I think Kyle Stowers is untouchable as well. I don't think you should be moving him. It makes no sense to move Edward Cabrera for anything less than a Sandy-esque package. If these results are real and you believe in him as an organization, then why sell low? Depends how the organization thinks. If the organization and the pitching director, Bill Hazel, they come to a consensus, Edward Cabrera is legit, and I think he is. There's no reason to indicate that he's not, other than the fact that he's shown these glimpses before and then gone back to earth. I don't know. I think they can come to a consensus. Hey, Edward Cabrera, internally, we think is our best pitcher. Why are we going to sell low? Because the team isn't going to give a return that a ace Edward Cabrera should demand. I think Cabrera can be an ace. I think he can be a solid number 2 and pitch his way into being a number 1. It might have taken him a few years. But I'm willing to go out there and say it. These last 2 months, something has clicked, something has turned around, and it's always been there. So why would you trade him now just when he's ascending into his potential? Get him off our hands. We don't want him. We'll take anything we can get for him. That, to me, is selling low. If you're going to trade him, and if Edward Cabrera is legit, then you can trade him next season. Yeah, he has another year of control gone, but his track record at the same time is built up that much further. He's now done it for a year and a half instead of just 3 months. Or guess what? Here's the other option, and this might shock a lot of people. You keep him, and you build around Edward Cabrera. If Cabrera has found this success and he's not a free agent till 2029, there comes a point when you stop the narrative in its tracks. You stop the narrative that the Marlins are just going to ship their players off anytime they build up value. Because that's exactly what's happening, and the fans blindly go behind it. And you know what? I've been guilty because I thought Edward Cabrera was not this good. I thought it was going to come crashing down, and he's proved me wrong. He's turned a page in his career, and he's not a free agent for another 3.5 seasons. There is no rush to trade him. You have identified a pitcher that has serious value to your team in a season in which Sandy Alcantara has been in a downspin, inconsistent. Max Meyer got hurt, is out for the year. Ryan Weathers, 60-day injured list. Edward Cabrera, when I watch Marlins baseball, I feel the most confident in him as a pitcher. Big decisions. The Marlins claimed a pitcher off of waivers from the Chicago White Sox, Nick Nastrini. Really quickly want to talk about him. Nick Nastrini was a 4th-round pick back in 2021 out of UCLA. He's 25 years old. He's a big right-hander, 6'3", 220. Fastball slider guy mainly. He was acquired from the Dodgers. So he was actually drafted by the Dodgers. Apologies there. But he was traded to the White Sox in a prospect package that included Lance Lynn and Joe Kelly going back to LA. And he was the number 6 ranked prospect in the White Sox season before 2024. He got a taste of the majors in 2024. He struggled. ERA was over 7. He was, back and forth to AAA. And this season he spent it all in AAA Charlotte. 20 games, 6 starts, and ERA over 7. He struggles with command, but he averages about a strikeout an inning. So I think it's an interesting arm that the Marlins now can work with. You put him in AAA Jacksonville. You get him in your organization with your, pitching philosophy and pitching director and pitching coaches, and you just work with him and you see what there is. Got a fastball that's about 94 miles an hour. It's got a slider. That's his main 2 pitches. And you can do a lot with that. You can maybe factor in a sweeper and see what you got and work with him. And maybe you can find a viable long reliever, bullpen arm. It's all about getting gold, out of the river. You got to find those gold nuggets in places that you least expect them. So why not? No harm, no foul. You get a waiver claim. He's in Jacksonville, and he's going to get to work in the Jumbo Shrimp organization. Marlins going for their 9th straight win. It's going to be Simeon Woods Richardson for the Twins versus Jansen Junk for the Marlins. Let's take another series and get this thing rolling even more. Another win, guys. 8 straight right now. Let's make it 9. For your second listen of the day, go check out the new Locked On MLB Game Night on the Locked On MLB channel. That's going to do it for today's edition of Locked On Marlins. And until next time, stay safe, stay locked on, and let's go fish.